Hello, dear students. So, hope you all are fine in these difficult times, and I wish all of them are safe. All of you are safe. So, let's start with a basic questions from a question paper of NBHM PhD 2018 session. Actually, I have taken two questions from section 2 analysis part that we do today. Okay. So let's start with the first question of this, which says that we consider a sequence of non-negative real numbers an, right? An is a sequence of non-negative real numbers. Which of following are true? So if summation an is convergent, means less than infinity, then summation an to the power 5 is convergent, or this sum is finite. It means that this sum is finite. Less than infinity means this. B part says that if summation an to the power 5 is finite, it means summation an to the power 5 is convergent, then summation an is convergent. C part says that if summation an to the power 3 by 2 is convergent, then series an by n is convergent. So you have to tell which of the following statements are true, right? So more than one option will be correct. So let's discuss and the solution of this problem. Okay, let's start that. So actually we check the options one by one. It means that first option we will discuss, then second and third, right? So in this you are given a sequence, it is given that, and you have to prove this, right? So we are thinking that it is true, right? So we try to prove this statement, right? So let's discuss that again. Okay, right? Because summation n in an is convergent, so what happens is that limit is 0. You know that if a series is convergent, then sequence has limit 0 as n goes to infinity. Now if an is greater than equal to 1 for infinitely many n, right? So if an is greater than equal to 1 for infinitely many n, then we get a subsequence of an which does not converge to 0, right? Because all the terms are greater than equal to 1. So in other way you can't find a subsequence, because for getting a subsequence which converges to 0, it means that it is bounded by 1, right? After n naught terms, right? But this is not possible, right? So we assume that an is greater than equal to 1 for finitely many times that you see here, right? And obviously an because an is non-negative, so you say that an is greater than equal to 0 after some stage, say n naught, because it is less than 1 for infinitely many times, right? For after n naught terms we can say that an is less than 1 from this, right? So doing this, we see that if an is less than 1, then an to the power 5 is less than an, right? For n all n greater than equal to some particular n naught, right? So that's the whole idea. So again, by comparison test, we can say that you have series comparison test. You can say that this summation an to the power 5 after n naught terms is a convergent series, right? So what happens is that because it is a sequence of partial sums, so after n naught terms it is convergent series. So you can say directly that because it's a trailing terms, trailing series convergence, so you can say that summation n in n to the power 5 is convergent. Obviously if it is convergent, then sum is not infinity, it is strictly less than infinity, right? So option A is correct, right? You see that option A is correct. Now talking about option B, which says that can you show this that summation an to the power 5 is convergent, then summation an is convergent also, right? So I have a counter example for this problem. So I have this counter example. I can consider an is equal to 1 by n to the power 5, and you can see that an to the power 5 is just summation 1 by n square, and we all know that it is convergent series because summation 1 by n to the power p is convergent if and only if p is greater than 1. You can apply the p term test. That is very easy, right? So again you see that summation an 1 by n to the power 2 by 5, which is a divergent series because 2 by 5 is lesser than 1. So the option is B is false. Now we discuss another option, which is the last option of this question 2.1. So in this, if summation an to the power 3 by 2 is finite, it means that, or summation an to the power 3 by 2 is a convergent series, then you have to show that summation an by n is a convergent series. So to prove this that it is a convergent series, we prove this basically because we don't have any counter example. Obviously we prove, then we don't have any counter example, because if we prove then it's correct. Okay, so yes, we have to show this thing. So because it is given that summation an to the power 3 by 2 is a convergent series, then obviously summation an square is convergent, because we see in the first part that if summation an is convergent, then summation an to the power 5 is a convergent series. Because summation an to the power 5, we can argue like this, that after infinitely many terms or for infinitely many times an is less than 1, and we know if an is less than 1, then an to the power 2 is less than an to the power 3 by 2. Again, the same logic we can apply here also, that an to the power 3 by 2 is less than 1. So you can always make it higher power, and an to the power 2. For this also we can apply the part A, and we can see that this summation an to the power 2 is convergent series, right? So again, by comparison test result, we see that summation 1 by n square is finite by p term test. And now this is a very important trick in this question that you see. Geometric mean of an square and 1 by n square is arithmetic mean is less than arithmetic mean of a and b. Basically, you know that GM of two numbers is less than arithmetic mean of two numbers. So here a is an square and b is 1 by n square. So you can say that because this is geometric mean formula, this is arithmetic mean formula, you can easily see that, and then you can argue that this thing happens. And what we got is an by n is less than equal to 1 by 2 an square plus 1 by n square. And you know that it is a convergent series because an square is convergent, that we have seen 1 by n square is convergent. So sum of two convergent series is again convergent, right? So again, by comparison test, you see that summation an by n is convergent and summation an by n is less than infinity, obviously. So C is obviously true. So we see that correct answers of this are A and C. So fine, okay? Okay, so option A and C are only correct for the first question. Now we move towards the second question. Right. So now we discuss the second question, which says that let f and g be defined on R. There are two functions f and this g, where fx is 1 if x is rational number, 0 if x is irrational, gx is 1 if x is greater than equal to 0, gx is 0 if x is not greater than 0 or less than 0, right? So you have to say which of the following statements are true. First option is the function is continuous almost everywhere, right? The function is equal to continuous function almost everywhere. The function g is equal to continuous function almost everywhere. So you don't know the meaning of almost everywhere, maybe that case. So we will first see the definition of almost everywhere. Then we try to answer this question, right? Because it's a question of measure theory is a subject, So I just try to give a very easy definition of almost everywhere. So we see that f holds a property almost everywhere if measure of the set where f does not hold the property is 0. Right? Measure of the set where f does not hold the property is 0. Right? So here measure we only mean by length of interval in this question. You don't worry about what is measure, but for an interval it is the length of interval, and for countable set it is 0. But only two things you need to remember, that measure of an interval is the length. If an interval is a comma b, then its measure is b minus a, and if a countable set is there, then you define measure of this is to be 0, because we only use these two things. Right, so we again check the options one by one which are correct or not. So in the first option we say that f is this, so you have to argue whether f is continuous almost everywhere or not, right? This is the first option. Let's see this. Right, because you can see that easily that f is not continuous in real line. You can easily check, you can easily verify by sequence approach. You can take any real number, any rational number, and you find a sequence of irrational numbers, then you can argue that f is not continuous on real line. So the measure of set where f is not continuous, what is the measure of this set where f is not continuous? Right, because we have seen the property says that f does not hold a property, means f is not continuous. The measure of that set should be 0 for almost everywhere, right? So here we see, you can check that the length or measure of r is infinity, which is not 0, because f is not continuous, f does not satisfy the property on whole real line, and we see that the length of real line is infinity, which is not 0. So option A is absolutely false, right? Now we discuss the another option, B. Let us consider a function in this gx is equal to 0, because g is a continuous function on R. Then you clearly see that your function g is not equal to f on rational numbers, and you know that measure of countable set is 0, so option B is obviously true. So it is not so tough, but we have seen another function which can be equal to g and which is continuous, so we try to construct it. So it is true option, right? Now we see the last option which says that g is not continuous at 0 only. So we have to say that is g equal to a continuous function anywhere, right? So that is one thing. So let's discuss this. So possibilities for new function h being continuous such that h equals g almost everywhere are hx is equal to 1 for all x in R, or hx equals 0 for all x in R. So you can see that if there is a continuous function where h can be equal to g, is that only possible case for h are 1 and 0 being a constant function. And you see in other case, the set where hx is not equal to gx in case 1 is minus infinity to 0, and you know that measure or length of this interval is infinity, which is non-zero, so it is false. Again you see that in this p case, this is close 0 comma infinity. Again the length of the interval is infinity, which is non-zero, right? So you just see that option C is obviously false. So the correct answer is option B, right? So only the correct answer is option B from these three options. So this is a very easy question. Unless you know the concept, you can't do it. But I have discussed the most important thing, that measure of length interval is length. Lebesgue measure V for your convenience I am taking, but you can study measure theory book however. So that's easy approach for this question. Hope you all liked this video, and hope you like the questions I have given and the answers I have provided. If you have any comments regarding the solutions or you want any explanation, more explanation, then you can always comment on my video, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much and stay updated for the further updates. Thank you.